Hello and welcome, I am Arumba, thank you for joining me. It's time for another major patch to Crusader Kings 2. This is for the Rajas of India. So the patch notes have been released, which generally means that the expansion or DLC should be coming out within the next 2 weeks. Hopefully, maybe sooner. What I've done is I've made a summarized version, and then of course there's also the full-on version available either on the Paradox forums or in a link in the video description. So I'm going to just go over the major changes and talk about my opinion on how it's going to affect the game and what's important, what's not important, that kind of thing. So we're going to go through them together. This may take anywhere from 5 to 20 minutes, so be prepared. Alright, so major changes, major map revisions and additions. We've got East Africa, Armenia, Central Asia, Siberia, and India. Obviously this is the main draw to Rajas of India. It's increasing the size of the map by about 50%, adding I think somewhere around 200 provinces to the game, which basically invalidates all old world conquests, which means we're going to have to do another world conquest soon, which is pretty cool. Added Steam matchmaking support and added Steam workshop support. This is good and also maybe bad. Matchmaking support means that it will now allow you to connect using the game ID system that EU4 has been using. This was something that was supposed to come out, I think, with Sons of Abraham, but it wasn't quite finished. I don't know. I don't like how EU4 makes you go online every time, which is really annoying. But in general, I would say that EU4 is more stable in multiplayer than CK2 is, so hopefully this will allow us to have more stable multiplayer in CK2. Should be a good thing overall, although you have to make sure to go offline mode on Steam if you don't want people to message you while you're trying to multiplayer. The workshop just means that you'll be able to subscribe to a mod instead of having to download it manually and update it manually. So if the mod maker puts it on the Steam Workshop, you can just click subscribe, and anytime there's an update, it will automatically update it for you the next time you load the game, which is really nice, but then again, it gives you less control. So if you're the type of person that likes to have control, you can still do it the old way, where you don't use the Steam mod workshop and you just manually install them, but I think most people would probably prefer it to be automatic. Added diplomatic range blocking diplomacy and counselor actions versus 2 distant characters. Now I don't know, I haven't been able to experience this myself yet. I don't know how long or far the distance is, but in general this is a really good change. This means that you can no longer be an Irish count marrying off your son to the princess of Nubia. And like, how on earth would they even communicate? You don't even have boats in the year 867. Like, how are you going to get to them? It's ridiculous. So it's good that you can no longer do that. It's just going to probably require some tinkering to work out exactly how far the distance penalty or distance limit is. Factions will now revolt as a single unified realm under a temporary title. This is amazing. This is a really good change. So I think it was actually before Rajas of India, it might have been the Old Gods when they introduced adventurers and that whole thing, they introduced the concept of temporary titles. And what they're going to do now is make it so that, let's say you are the Byzantine Emperor and there's a Byzantine Empire faction that fires, an independence faction or a succession war or whatever. Instead of having 10 different independent countries that you can go and siege and maybe go siege the leader of it and get tons of war score against them, now they're going to give them a fake title that basically just makes them more unified. And also, because it's a fake title, he's effectively the liege of those vassals, which means that that guy will raise vassal levies and have a more coordinated attack. So that's going to make it, it really overhauls the faction system. Very excited about this. Can't wait to see how much more successful factions will be, and I think it's going to be awesome. Added attrition for units that have been out of supply for too long, so you can't just wander around the map anymore. Pretty cool. Support to change windowed mode setting from full screen to borderless or windowed. This is just nice if you stream or if you like to play with a borderless window. Certain computers can run better not in full screen mode. Like if you like to play while you are online chatting on something, then borderless is going to be the option for you. New unit type system allowing for more flexible unit types, including war elephants, camel warriors, and horse archers. So what this does is that they got rid of the horse archers completely, and they just rehauled that unit to be a placeholder unit. It's going to be really good for things like mod making, where if you want to add in custom units, each culture or religion, I'm not sure what it's tied to, will allow you to have your own custom unit, and every single holding can actually have different custom units. So it's going to be pretty cool having these various types of units. North Korea mode, if you've never heard of that before, is where you occupy, or you personally hold every holding in your country. That won't work anymore. You can't. It didn't work in the past, and then they made some dumb change where going over your domain limit, even if you were like more than double your domain limit, or just 5 over it, you'd still get 10% income. So North Korea mode wasn't in the past, and now it was available for a few patches, and now they've blocked it again. It's a dumb way to play. It's not intended. It's supposed to be the feudalism system, not control everything yourself mode. So it was just kind of a weird gimmicky mechanic. Save games are now compressed by default, can be toggled on and off. This is whatever. If you have issues with memory, then it'll help you out. Major memory and performance optimizations. I don't know about that. I don't believe them. In the patch, or in the forums, they were talking about how anytime you add more territory to a game, you increase the size of the map by 50%, the game's going to run slower. And then they said, we've got all these major memory and performance optimizations, so it runs about the same as before. But then in the patch notes, it just says major memory and performance optimizations. Do not expect your game to run any faster. If anything, I would expect it to run a little bit slower. The game size just got much, much bigger. So this is my opinion here. I don't have any confirmation because I haven't played the game yet, but I don't believe that. I think that the game's going to run slower, but not by much. Added opinion malice for holding a character in prison. I don't believe that they're talking about the prisoner not liking you for having them in prison. Obviously, they already have a modifier of that. I think they're talking about certain interested characters, like maybe the spouse of someone who's in prison will have an opinion malice on you for holding somebody else in prison. Like, I'm upset that you're imprisoning my brother or my wife or my son, whatever. Which is good. That's good. I feel like they should be upset about things like that. An opinion malice for former lovers. So if you discard them or break up, then they don't like you anymore. Probably going to plot to kill you or kill your kids. This one is huge, so I've indicated that with the little exclamation marks. Characters can now have up to 5 potential lovers at a time. And that, in combination with this next one, impregnation of lovers, is now handled in the code. What that means is that it's no longer... You remember that event that says, I visited her and I gave her a good tumble. That was the only way you could impregnate a lover before this patch. So you would very rarely get bastards from lovers. Now, it's handled in the code, meaning that if you have a lover and they are within the breeding range, there's a % chance that they'll just become pregnant whenever, at any point. And if you have 5 of them, this is going to be the bastard patch. We're going to have so many bastards running around. It's going to be fantastic. The great thing about bastards is they get claims on your titles, and they go off and they create factions, and it's cool and crazy, and it's going to be a lot of fun. I really like bastards in this game. I think they're hilarious. It's now possible to revoke honorary titles. Cool. It's fine. They're obviously upset with you if you take it away. Characters will no longer get the marriage ties opinion bonus toward their spouse. This was a bug, basically. It was like plus 30 opinion that you would have with your spouse. You're only supposed to have the marriage ties opinion bonus with like your brother-in-law or your father-in-law, that kind of thing. You're tied together through marriage. Obviously, your spouse has their own opinion of you. CBs that call other vassals into a revolt will now automatically call all vassals when the war is declared. This just makes sure that we don't have half of a faction fire, that kind of thing. Sons asking for titles can now start an adventure for one of your titles if refused, especially common among Muslims. So it used to be that, let's say you're paying as a Catholic and you have 3 sons and you just never land them because you don't care, because you're stuck on, I don't know, Gavelkind, and you just don't want to give them any land yet because you're planning on changing succession law. Well, what would happen is every 5 to 10 years they would pop up with an event saying they want a title, and you just say no, and they'd get upset, but then they'd go away, and you would continue to lose your piddly amount of prestige, that doesn't really matter, for having an unlanded son. Now they're going to go and create an adventure, and somewhere, I think lower in the list, adventurers have been buffed. So I'm a little bit scared to see how strong they are, but you have to give your kids land, is the way that it works. Timur and Seljuk will now arrive in a more involved fashion and need to survive before they launch their great gambit. So before they start kind of consuming the eastern half of the map, they have to survive, apparently. Children can no longer pick up the religion or culture of a guardian if the guardian does not share the religion or culture of his employer. Notice the number of exclamations here. This is huge and was buried in the notes, and like not even a lot of attention was called to it, but this is massive. This means you can no longer change your culture or your religion via education. You're not going to see dynasties. You're not going to see, say, the Carlings becoming Greek, or you're not going to see an Irish character becoming French. It will not happen anymore, because unless they match, like it's like a chicken and the egg thing. Unless you have that culture, and then you assign a guardian that has that thing, then you cannot flip them. Now there probably will still be a way to make them change, but even something like sending your child off to a foreign court to be educated won't work, because they're still you are still considered their direct liege. So just sending your son to France if you're from Ireland is not going to make him become French, which is good. I like that. He shouldn't be. He should be whatever he was born as. I always thought it was really stupid how a character could go to another country and just, oh, I was Irish up until 15, but then at the age of 15 and a half, some guy convinced me to be Greek. No, your culture it's genetic. That's your culture. Well, that's kind of more the way that you look, I guess, but your culture is also your upbringing. Anyway, long story short, you can't change your culture or religion anymore that way. You still will have the ability to change your religion if you're a pagan and you get like the spouse pillow talk type event, and there's going to be other methods you can do. And of course the new Indian religions have a few options to change. Nestorians are no longer considered a heresy. They have their own holy order, and now there is something called the Massalian heresy, which is a heresy of Nestorian. And there's also the Paulician heresy, which is an Orthodox heresy. You no longer get an opinion bonus from your vassals for defending against rebels, adventurers, and the like. So if you have, in the past, what you could do is if, let's say that a religion rebellion happened, you would go and attack it with enough men to weaken it to the point that they were so small that they couldn't actually siege anything, but they still had some men. So you'd have this little tiny stack, maybe 300 troops, that couldn't do anything, wasn't a threat to anything, and would just wander around your country doing nothing. And if you left them alive, you would have a permanent plus 50 opinion bonus from all of your vassals forever, which was kind of a game-breaking strategy that you could use, and they fixed that by giving you no opinion bonus for that type of thing. You still get an opinion bonus for defending versus infidels and defending versus foreigners, but not for defending versus rebels, adventurers, etc. You can no longer call allies to help you defend against peasant, heretic, and religious rebels. This is pretty major. If you're in a weak spot and you need help, then I guess it's kind of interesting. Added a decision to conscript merchant ships if you're playing a ruler with overseas holdings, so you'll have more access to navies. Reduced piety gained from battles. Increased piety costs for the Muslim invasion CB. That seems fine. This one I'm very excited about. Whether a character is too insignificant for anyone to care if you execute them is now determined by whether they have any titles, claims, or titled close relatives. So from now on, if you do have some random schmuck that you threw in prison that has no land or anything like that, you can just kill them. You can just get rid of them, which is fantastic. Because I'm so tired of having people in my prison that don't matter, and for some reason you're considered a tyrant if you execute them. I mean, they're basically an unlanded peasant, and you should have the ability to just get rid of them if they're a problem. They're in prison for a reason. Children, incapable characters, and prisoners can no longer join factions. That seems like a good change. I don't know. That seems silly that they could in the first place, but the decision to acknowledge bastards on your own now works again. I didn't realize it was gone, but come to think of it, I haven't seen that in a long time, and it does seem kind of strange that that functionality was broken. Becoming infirm will now abort self-improval ambitions. Makes sense. You're about to die. Characters now lose the ambition to get married upon becoming a eunuch or homosexual. That also makes sense. If you don't have a willy, then you probably shouldn't have any ambition to get married. Cathar women can now have the same career ambitions as men. Cathar, as you may know, is one of the few religions that allows women to lead troops and basically do everything. You can have women on your council. It's a pretty cool religion. You should try it out. It's a heresy of Catholic, I believe. Catholic. Can no longer reform the Orthodox religion. Instead, one has the decision to restore the ecumenical patriarchate. Whatever. So yeah, you can't reform it. It's different now. Cathar vassals no longer have negative opinions for liege or liege's heir being female. Again, makes sense because they are a female-friendly religion. After a successful decadence revolt, the new ruler only gets weak unpressed claims on vassals who choose independence. This is major, because it used to be that if there was a successful decadence revolt, the new randomly generated decadent replacement family would have strong claims on anyone that wasn't part of the empire, and then they just go conquer it all again, which made Muslim empires very stable. Now they'll only get a weak claim, which means that they can't just consolidate the realm right back again. Increased the chances that vassals will choose independence after successful decadence revolts. So we're going to see, again, more Muslim nations get fractured. These are pretty major as well, doubled the prestige that newborn characters get from their dynasty at birth. So it's very important that your family does well. You want to land your family, and this is based on the number of titles that a character holds when they die. So for instance, if you have a whole bunch of previously dead kings and dukes and maybe an emperor or something in your dynasty, then your dynasty itself provides a prestige bonus to your children when they're born. So landing your family is a good thing. It's not about whether you have 20 counties, it's about whether they were a count or a duke or a king. So if you have, say, 2 brothers and you give them both a county and then they die, now you have 2 more count points in your dynasty, which enhances all of your future dynasty members. Double the prestige that you get from your dynasty, from the dynasty of your spouse when marrying. This is not that huge bonus. It's not like 300, 400 fixed prestige. We're talking about the random prestige value that you get based on how prestigious the dynasty is. So basically, more prestige from marrying and landing your characters well. Strengthened adventurers in general, like we talked about earlier. The loot bar regrows more slowly now. This is just off the top of my head, but I'm pretty sure it was regrowing at a rate of, let's see, it would go down by 4% every 4 days, I think, and it would grow by 4% per month. So it used to take like 25 months to fully recover after having a province sieged. I don't know how much slower it is now, but basically, this is making war more dangerous. It's going to harm the realm for longer. And it also makes pagans more dangerous. You have to take care of it, otherwise they're going to really damage your economy for a long, long period of time. Fixed an issue where event flags would sometimes not clear properly after tournaments, feasts, and similar events. So basically the never-ending tournament may have actually been fixed, finally. Cut succession wars and all mostly obsolete mechanics to do with vassal revolt risk. This was before they had the faction system, and there was a whole screen, I think, on the intrigue panel that would talk about risks or threats or something, and it was completely obsolete. After they introduced factions, it was all redone, so I'm surprised that this was still in here. Added a negative opinion modifier for vassal kings versus their emperor liege. This, I think, is huge. This is going to make empires much less stable. They're basically saying, I mean, it's already kind of challenging to hold kings together underneath an empire. Now they have a vassal negative opinion modifier just for being a king. So it's going to make it more difficult to maintain a good empire. Added equal opportunity tumbling of courtiers for women and homosexuals. Cool. If your character is a homosexual, I think that he should be tumbling other men or women. And if you're a woman, I think you should be able to tumble some men. If you're queen, for instance. Interface. Family view now uses a larger siblings box if the character's religion does not allow secondary spouses or concubines. So it just gives you more room to see spouses. It's just using more screen real estate better. The threats tab in the intrigue view is now filled with appropriate characters. This is exciting. I want to see what this is about. This might be people that don't like you, maybe plots, I'm not sure. Added an adventurer threat alert replacing the old angry vassal one. So now we can see an alert is that thing at the top of the screen that pops down and says, like, you know, you're over your domain limit, or you have negative money, that kind of thing. So it'll let you know there's an impending adventurer coming at you, and let you find the character again if you ever miss track of him. When choosing educate character for a child, a suitable guardian will now be pre-picked for the cases where you don't want to bother to pick one yourself. This is just kind of a nice change. Added a new tab to the dynastic view that shows friends, rivals, in-laws, and lovers. Religion/culture filter in Character Finder now actually filters by religion and culture instead of religion and culture group. This one gets exclamation points because I have complained about this for like almost 2 years, and they finally fixed it. I can't tell you how many times I've complained in the forums about how it's filtering by culture group and not really, like, you'd be searching for, what's an example? I remember, like, in my Bulgar playthrough from ages ago, you would be searching for people who were Turkish, and, like, other cultures would show up, and it was just annoying. Like, you want people from the actual culture or religion, so this is a good change. Pressing the skull icon will now navigate to the killer, so you can actually find people who are murdering people. It used to be that if a plot fired and was successful, it would say who killed them, but it wouldn't actually say, like, it would make it difficult to find out who the actual murderer was, like who had them killed. So hopefully this will make it easier to find out what's going on with intrigue. The court tab now shows counselors as well. So let's say, for example, you are a king and you have your duke as a marshal. Then you don't have to go find your marshal in the vassals list. It will also put him in the court tab. So even if he's not technically in your court, he will show up in the court tab because you have placed him in your court by making him a counselor, which makes sense. Previously, he could only be in the vassals tab because the court tab was restricted to people who were not vassals but lived in your court. Does that make sense? Hopefully it does. Pressing on the red character skulls now navigates to the murderer. It's kind of similar to this one. I'm not sure if this was in here twice or if it's referring to two separate things. And almost to the end of this patch note here, AI. I just love reading the ones about the AI because it just always makes me laugh. Some of these things just seem so obvious and silly that it's just funny. So the AI is much less likely to plot against characters they have high opinion of. That's great. They shouldn't try to murder people they like. I like that. They're much less likely to form factions against characters that they have a high opinion of. That seems great. They will now detach and move away if their parent stack is suffering severe attrition. That seems pretty logical. Let's not lose all of our troops. We'll now keep attrition-free event troops mostly consolidated instead of spreading them out. Okay. Now take terrain and unit quality into account when determining whether to run from enemies. So wait a minute, you're saying that in the past they didn't take terrain and unit quality into account when determining? Well, no wonder they were such idiots. They would always just fight battles they shouldn't. They are now smarter about when to assault if there are enemy troops nearby. This is very common, like in a crusade, you'll have 20,000 troops next to their 20,000 troops, and they'll just assault and take themselves down to 15,000 with low morale, and then you just come and kill them. Now they won't do that, apparently. They're apparently better, not really good, it just says better, marginally better probably, at determining who to attach to in a war. So which stack to attach their army to. Better at coordinating with allies in war. We'll see. I don't know if I believe that. Will no longer declare suicidal faction independence wars that only have a fraction of their liege's power. Seems reasonable. Now smarter about when to hire mercenaries in a war. Like, if you have money and you're losing, you should probably hire mercenaries. Less willing to fold to independence, pretender, and anti-king factions. Will stop more plots. The hordes will now be more prone to head in the right direction. Smarter about title revocation. Will not start claimant factions for old women or the parent of the current ruler. That was very irritating. You would be in power and your father would have a claim and they would start a faction to try to put him in charge, which was just dumb. Because even if they put him in charge, then his heir would be you. So you'd be right back where you were. Muslim characters are more likely to pick up the gain a title ambition, which will cause them to ask for titles more often. I really like the changes they've made with the Muslims. Foreign rulers are now generally quite willing to take on wards as hostages because this prevents you from declaring war on them. If you declare war on them, they might execute your kid. So that's kind of cool, but sending them to a foreign court will not change their culture or religion. It will just give you an opinion bonus with another country. So it's kind of an interesting setup. And finally, there were a whole bunch of modding changes. I'm not going to read these because they are kind of a very niche group of people who are going to be interested in this. But suffice to say, there have been a number of changes that are going to make modding way, way better in this patch. It's going to make it much easier for modders to tie into certain events and just make changes, and they've exported quite a few more of the modifiers and values to defines, which means that it gives moderators more control, which is really awesome. Sorry, not moderators, but mod makers. So I love that Paradox takes the time to do things like that. They really embrace the modding community. And as you know, we've played a lot of mods on the channel, and there are just so many good mods out there. So that all being said, The full patch notes are a little tiny bit longer. I got rid of the events or the notes that didn't really affect things directly, like bug upgrades and stuff like that. But if yeah, I'm really excited about this. I can't wait to play, and I hope that you're excited about it too. So that is my summary and thoughts. Thank you for watching. I look forward to seeing you in the first video of the newest series for Rajas of India. We'll see you soon.